Exomologiste tokiri oti agathos alleluia.
Otis ton neona to eleos aftu alleluia.
And guess what countries?
Japan, India,
Followed by
Brazil,
India,
Israel.
Japan, and Israel.
Japan isn't inbred.
Japan is fully inbred.
No, it's not.
This is the abstract.
most
But the highest is Arabia.
Homogenic.
But the highest,
Man said homogenic. That's not a word.
okay, the highest is Arabia.
Homogeneous.
The highest is Arabia, though. It's Arabia.
So what
That's the prevalent in Arabia.
Yeah, so the argument I had for Iceland was that it's...
Iceland isn't here.
Can I make my point without interruption?
But look, it also argues that the common denominator is low education and socio-economic groups. So are you saying that
Iceland's very educated. And very rich.
So this guy brought up...
I'm not very inbred.
So the reason why
Because
we got...
the Icelanders have been Christian now for
this guy
at least
just
600
talks over
years.
me. I don't know what's
And
going
guess
on.
what?
Incest
Why do you talk over people?
Incest for us is a sin. So actually...
So hold on. Me and this guy, we're having back and forth.
Okay,
But
how
you
about that?
talk over people.
How about
I
that?
see you, so I can do the same thing.
Okay, how about
Me
that?
and him were having a normal
Don't
conversation.
cry. You talk over me, I can talk over
Don't
you.
cry.
Don't cry.
Now he's gaslighting.
Okay,
You don't cry.
Now he's
Do you
gaslighting.
want to...
Well, you're crying.
Is that your people?
He'll stay here.
Is that your people?
You want to keep on asking that? Because we'll just go to the
Well,
fact that
it depends.
Arabia
Are the Arabs
are the
people?
I
highest
was having
incest
a
population.
back and
So I
forth
can just
with
say you're
you,
incest.
but this guy's not.
Okay, we can have back and forth. Is that fine, David?
Sorry?
Is that fine? You can stay in and I can have back and forth with this gentleman? Absolutely. Okay, great. So, the point being is that Iceland is notoriously known from holding DNA for both humans and also seeds. Like, they have the highest seed bank in the world.
My point was...
The point is this, because we'll go back to the question I asked
saying
you.
what my point is.
Okay, my point is this. If you teach that, let me just go back to what you said and ask you a question based on that. You said... Wait, one second. So, you said that this moral relativist principle is that because they weren't able to migrate at the time, they could marry their cousin. Now, going back to today, would it render that it is immoral to marry your cousin today because you can?
It's immoral to a degree. It's not fully immoral.
So is it a sin?
Immoral. It's not a sin.
Okay, great. So you can still do it.
You can still do it.
Okay, so you still have the issue that your God is calling for things that,
But you
on an
shouldn't.
industrial scale,
Yeah.
causes huge problems. I mean, if you look at certain communities in India and Pakistan,
Yeah.
what you end up having is this community.
I know very well.
Well, you understand that within certain communities, they'll kill their children if they are deformed.
Don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I've seen
That's
I know
extreme.
social.
Now you're pleading
I know.
for
I know
extremism.
social welfare officers
You're
that do
pleading for
charity
outliers
and volunteer
Your
in
argument
Pakistan
is
and India.
appealing to outlier point.
No, it's not. It's this moral principle of consequentialism.
My point is, it's got nothing to do with Islam. It's
You just said it
hold
isn't
on,
a
don't
sin.
interrupt, please, brother.
You just said it isn't
Don't
a sin,
interrupt, please. So my point is, it's got nothing to do with Islam.
Can you do it in Islam?
Stop interrupting when I say the first bit.
Okay,
My
but you're
point is-
lying. The first
my
sentence you're
point
saying is a lie.
My point is has nothing to do with application of Islam, salvation, heaven and hell, judgment day, any of these points, but it does have an implication for society, and the way you reform it is through education and infrastructure.
Can you still do it?
Can you still do?
How can you educate someone if you're not going to say explicitly it's a sin?
Well, that's what education is.
No, because you've just said to me it's not a sin.
No.
So how are you educating people?
Education is saying if you have children from cousin marriages, you are more likely to have inborn children.
But also you've got to add the caveat that, look, God Almighty, the all-knowing God, has allowed us to do this.
Yeah, for
however,
those societies.
No, not for those societies,
That's
because
what
you've just said to me it's not a sin, and that Allah has allowed you to do that.
Yes.
Great. So the education's going to be like this.
So the education
in a way
is-
that you're trying
the
to.
education
the
is
way that
don't do it, but it's still allowed.
The problem with Muslims,
better for you not
the
to do it,
Muslim,
but it's allowed.
the problem with Muslims by and large is that they're trying to defend the indefensible, morally speaking.
It's very defensible.
No. What you're doing?
You're trying to.
Are you going to interrupt me again?
You're trying to.
I'm not.
What is
I'm
obvious?
Not. It's not obvious
Because your whole argument is deception.
No, what you're doing.
Your whole argument is
you're doing what the
let me
Mu'tazilates
deceive
used to do,
people.
where you put your fitra behind the traditional way of exegeting these texts. You can't even appeal to me any scholar or any exegete within Islam, traditionally speaking, that said that the ultimate prescription of cousin marriage has changed to when it used to be applicable to when it wasn't.
Because I'm not a scholar.
Okay,
and
great.
I don't have those
So
quotes
what you're
for you.
already doing is doing what the Mu'tazilates used to do, where you put your fitra in front of the traditional way of exegeting the text. That's the first thing you're doing. The second thing you're doing is what most people in the West are now doing when it comes to integrating into a modern Western philosophical framework of, you know what, if we look towards the fruits or the consequences of these actions, it really determines the moral worth of these things. So, for example, banging your cousin,
No.
you're going to interrupt me again? Want to do it again?
Because you're talking for a long time. And
Okay, unfortunately, religious discussions are a bit more nuanced and lengthy than I say something for a minute, you say something in response to it. So I would recommend that you just take the time, sit
You're
down.
turning a bit hostile now.
Well, I'm only turning hostile because now we're getting into the real groove of the discussion, which is actually a great thing.
Can you turn it down?
If you can turn it down by not interrupting me, I'd be happy in trying to turn down my emotions in the way that I speak to you. However, if you're going to constantly interrupt myself, I'm just going to take it in order to be as, flamboyant as I typically am. So my point to you would just be this. Moral consequentialism, looking at the consequence of one's actions to determine its moral value. If we look at what happens with incest, I'll defer to the National Institute of Health that found that firstly, the highest countries that have incest are Arabia, right? You can dispute in other countries as well. However, they're doing it because culturally and religiously, they are Muslim. They uphold to a religion that has allowed this for centuries. Now, if you look at these countries, they also live in areas where they don't value kids with deformities, right? So you're on this industrial scale allowing for the inbreeding of children, causing deformities, then living in societies that don't value them as human, then leaving them at a huge disadvantage. Now, if I was a god, heaven forbid, I would commonly look towards what is the best for an individual person, and from there make moral prescriptions. And in which case, I would never command something that en masse would cause for the deformities of, my creation.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, go on.
So your whole argument was that Islam is bad because it's a bit backwards in certain areas. And so the whole conclusion is that as soon as we get more advanced in these areas, you will have no argument for Islam.
No, you advance out of Islam, that's the point.
No.
Yes, you are.
Out of child marriage and
child marriage, cousin
and
marriage, great.
Blah, blah,
Two things that Islam
Not child, sorry, cousin.
Okay, cousin and child marriage. Two things that you allow
now you're
for.
interrupting me.
Yeah,
now
of
you're
course.
interrupting me.
Because you posed the question on what I said.
No, I did not finish. So the whole way to dismember this, completely take out your argument, is that as soon as the villagers back in these Muslim countries advance, get the infrastructure to stop marrying their cousins, so they can visit they can see other girls.
You're
or
assuming
whatever.
that Islam
Don't interrupt, please. I didn't interrupt you. So as soon as that happens, your whole argument is mute.
No,
and also, I'm not finished.
Yeah.
And that would mean that Islam is the best, and that Christianity is rubbish for society because, and this is what you won't argue, you will never face this argument, is that Christianity has been stamped over, put on the floor, spat over, first by the Roman Empire.
If you start speaking about Christianity like that again, I'll say things about your prophet.
Okay, sorry about that. So it was trampled by the Roman Empire, and then it was trampled by these Western European countries. What happened with they realized the corruption from the Roman Empire was too much, so they became Protestant. They started protesting.
That was not the reason, by the way.
Calvin and Martin Luther and the Roman Empire is doing too much in Christianity.
Do you know Martin Luther didn't want to split from the church?
I will let you come back as soon as I'll finish right now. So the reason, and you know that Christianity will never be a society that humans can go behind, is because Christianity, in effect, in practice, has no use.
Okay.
It was taken over by the secular world a long time ago.
Can I respond now? Great. So firstly, if you speak about my holy religion like that again, I will speak down to your prophet, because there's a lot of material there.
All I said was trample.
However, Firstly, I'm Eastern Orthodox. I largely don't care about what the West does in terms of schisming. In fact, if you look at the works of John Calvin and Martin Luther, they actually give huge admiration towards the Eastern Orthodox, saying that.
First point I made.
Yeah, I'm going to go do that. So your first response just gives this assumption that Islam is not archaic and it's actually compatible with this advancement within morality. It's not, because you haven't proved it. You've just said, and you've done something that, by the way, if you want to talk about schisms, Islam has deeply been against what you've just done. You've exegeted the text based on your common sense, your intellect, your fitra, and superseded that with a traditional way that the Muslims would have read this. You've already agreed to the premise that Islam allows for these things, but rather it's just not advisable. However, there are still communities, can we agree, mostly in Arabia, that still use cousin marriage. They still do it even though they are perfectly able to migrate, and according to you, they're not sinning. So you're simply assuming that Islam is compatible with this concept of modernization, when it really isn't. When we look at the West, and again, interruption, if you look towards the West, what you see is people still marrying their cousins. I know many people within the Muslim community that are still the product of incest. So they're still doing it, and they're not going against their God in doing so. Unless you want to admit that God is committing a sin, and that God is prescribing one thing for one people at one time, and another time. No, because you spoke about my holy faith, which now I have to defend. Great. So firstly, if you know anything about Protestant history, you get taught this in year 7. Martin Luther never wanted to split from the church. He had an issue with, yes, the corruption, and he had some issues with the veneration of the saints and purgatory. However, he never wanted to split from the church. He never wanted a schism. That's my first thing. My second thing, I'm Eastern Orthodox. The Protestant community, by and large, the reformers, greatly respected, and John Calvin said that you have never seen better worshippers and more faithful Christians than the Greeks, than the Eastern Orthodox Christians. So they share great admiration and unity with the Orthodox Church, because in their eyes they see themselves as like the Western Orthodox. So in terms of division, I could even point to, do you know what the Melchizedelites were? They were butchered, but by the Sunni, they're extinct. So certain schools of thought within Yeah, so I think there are major schisms within Islam. I mean, look at the Ahmadis, for example. They're majorly persecuted by the Sunnis.
They're not even Muslims.
Pardon?
They're not even Muslims.
Okay, and there are certain Christians that would say certain other Christian groups aren't Christians.
No, but they're really not. They follow another prophet after.
Okay, and I can say that other Protestant reformers are just following and idolizing other people who would later innovate the faith. What's the problem?
It would be like saying there's another Jesus or something.
No, that's like me saying
Everyone
that other
would
people
agree
that they idolize. There's other people that these men idolize to follow and
So
divide.
to answer your first question, that cousin marriage is still happening. What do you want these communities to do? Die out?
Rather than inbreeding, absolutely.
You want them to die out?
If you're so incredibly lustful,
You want the community to
if
die
you're
out.
so incredibly lustful,
So you want
and
God
cardinal,
to say to these people, die out.
okay, if you're so cardinal that you can't resist fucking your cousin, I would largely recommend you
It's
stop
the
breeding.
only woman that you can marry in this village.
Do you honestly think
It's
Arabia
a
is just
fucking small
backwards?
village.
Do you honestly think, and even in the UK we still see these practices kept?
Yeah, but that's because
In
these guys
Luton,
are backwards.
I think it's
yeah,
like,
Bradford and these areas. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
They
that's
can-
because these guys are backwards.
Yeah, because they're following their religion.
No, they're following culture.
No, they're following their
They're
religion.
following, let's keep the money
Religion,
in the family.
religion begets culture.
No, what does let's keep the money in the family, which they are thinking, where does that lead to? It leads to let's also keep the DNA in the family, and then
You're also
you'll just be
holding
like,
to the same.
Yeah, you'll be like the
Also the
pharaohs.
same Okay, so firstly,
Keeping your DNA in the family.
Yeah, you'll be like those pharaoh, like the queen and them families there.
exactly, and this is what your religion preaches.
No, that's where it stops.
No, okay, show me a source that says this. We're still largely assuming this.
Ijma.
Where is the ijma?
Google it.
No, you Google it, my friend. You're making
Ask
a claim.
ChatGPT.
What, you honestly want to use ChatGPT as a viable source? Do you even know how large
I mean,
language model works?
you just did it with the other
No, I
question.
didn't.
You asked Google.
No, I
the other question.
Yeah, I asked Google because firstly, Google has access to the internet.
Why would your argument be when someone explains to you rationally, you say, "Go and get me the delete"? Why would you ask
Because
for
the burden of proof on you is, if you make a claim, the burden of proof is on you to prove it.
I've proven it to you.
No, you've
logically.
just said there's an ijma. Imagine if I said to you there's an ijma that proves Muhammad's a false prophet. You would have certainly want me to give that.
What the hell are you talking? Did you even hear what you said?
Yeah, of course.
You realize that was stupid?
Yeah, I've gave an absurd statement to demonstrate how absurd your methodology in a discussion is. You've just asked.
Is this guy just arguing to argue or something?
No, of course
Are you
not.
arguing?
When you claim
Okay, so
something,
what was, because first of all,
when
you came.
claim
First of all, you came to
something-
this. You came to the cousin
Yeah.
marriage topic by going into which philosophy is good for the humans. And I
Please
said to
prove
you,
to me that.
I said to you,
please
Sharia,
prove to me
Islam,
that these
Sharia.
scholars believe this. Please prove to me.
I told you I don't have the time or the will to do that.
You don't have to
do it
will
yourself.
Why not? Because you're the one making the claim. I can't be looking.
Well, you're the one asking the question, so go find out
Of
the
course,
answer.
I'm asking all great Muslim. Please,
I'm
you
not
hold to
great.
this
I'm
position.
not very great.
Okay, all
Yeah.
dear believing Muslim, you hold to this position. We're having this
Yeah,
engaged
my
discussion.
answer was Google it.
Okay, so at the moment you're not aware of any ijma that says this?
I literally what? Any ijma? What does that mean?
Any group of scholars that hold to this position?
No.
Okay.
Ijma means consensus.
Yeah, of course. So there are scholars that hold to this position, right?
Yes.
Okay, name me a scholar that holds to this position.
Google it.
Okay, there's a consensus
Why
and you
you
cannot
asking
name one. Because I'm not aware of this
Do
consensus.
I know these scholars' names, bro?
You know, okay, a consensus of a majority opinion, right?
So you want me to say?
So give me
Abdul
one man
so-and-so
within this majority.
and I don't know their names, and I don't even
You don't
have
know the
any
names
clue.
of the. So
I would Google it the same way you would Google it.
You're aware of a majority of people that you don't know
I
exist.
would Google it the same
of
way you would
names
Google
that you
it.
don't know exist. Well, I'm not the
The
one who.
reason why I know.
I don't have a
The reason
prerequisite.
why I know is the majority.
Okay.
Is because it's mainstream Islam. We
Can you-
know all of us
Can you
know
give me
mainstream
like a name
Islam.
of a mainline scholar that would hold to this position?
No.
So you don't know any.
And is that what you're going to keep sticking
Could
to?
you give me a
that?
name of a scholar in Islam?
Holy cow.
Pardon?
Is that where we came
Just give
down
me
to?
a name of a scholar.
I don't have any names to give you.
So no, even a scholar that exists within Islam. Could you give me one?
Oh, why would you want that?
Because I just want to test if you actually know what you're talking about.
Okay, well I don't know what I'm talking about.
So you don't-
Out of my ass,
Yeah.
take it or leave it.
I would largely read it because, of course, like Christ says, and he says that you
So
should know them from the fruits.
do you want to go back to why, the question of why Sharia is best for society?
Or we can go to
Or-
Christianity because it seems like you don't know what you're talking about. It's Islam.
But you haven't even, no one would ever make any arguments for Christianity. No one.
Okay, do you wanna
That's
give
why
your
you
arguments against Christianity?
That's why you spoke about cousin marriage.
Okay, go against-
Because you can't promote Christianity.
Argue against Christianity.
You
for me.
cannot promote Christianity.
Argue against to me Christianity.
Now you want me
Yeah, give an
to-
argument against Christianity. If you
Why
think it's so
don't you
easily
promote Christianity?
Okay, my argument for this, the prophecies within the Old Testament pointing towards the cross is sufficient proof enough to believe the
society.
biblical Christ.
Why is it good for society?
Why is it good for society? Okay, what is good is God. God has given us these revelations. I can prove that to you through biblical prophecy. There you are.
Sorry, Christianity is good for society because
Because God has given it to us. And the reason why it is God that has given us these things is because of prophecy.
do you have any benefits from Christianity for society?
Having one wife and one husband, orphanages that started through the Christian faith, which, by the way, you guys
Can
are
we do
abrogated.
any of these things without Christianity?
Well, you wouldn't have had orphanages without the church. No.
There would be no orphanages without churches.
Yeah. The banning of abortion
So
as well.
Buddhists and Hindus don't have
Yeah,
orphanages.
they didn't start without the church. What about abortion? You guys allow for abortion?
There was no orphanage in the world before Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What claim? Or what's the evidence for that?
Yeah, if you look within the saintly works, the way that orphanages started was that you would find people on the streets. If you look at the dedicated,
What's the proof that there was no
Yeah, I can show
orphanages
you.
in Africa and China before Christianity?
I can't prove a negative claim.
Well, there you go.
Of
So
course,
you can't prove the positive.
But
either.
yeah, you can prove the positive. When did orphanages start? Which would
No,
be
when did orphanages start?
Yeah.
From these guys.
No. The question is, where did the concept itself started?
You can't prove that because you
Yes,
said you can't prove the negative.
Because okay, if you can't prove a negative, rather what you're proving in the positive is I don't know, archaeological evidence of churches.
alright, I'll
holy
give you
churches.
that. All orphanages started from Christianity. I'll
Great.
give you that.
Okay,
Anything else?
Abortion. We are the only faith that have a strong line of being against abortion. Islam allows for abortion depending on your school of thought, like the Hanbali, like 120, for some it's 75, and it comes from a hadith which I think actually brings a contradiction within your religion, but I won't go there.
And Hindus and Buddhists don't do abortion either.
They permit for abortion. Yeah.
So what's the argument?
Abortion is vile, it's evil.
No, what's the argument?
It's
Continue arguing. for
Okay,
Christianity.
abortion. Well, do we not agree abortion's a bad thing?
Sorry, though. I thought you said you were promoting abortion.
No, we're against it.
Against it.
We're the only religion against
that's-
abortion.
That's actually a bad thing for society.
Yeah, abortion's a bad thing, right?
No. that thing that Christianity is promoting is bad for society.
What, being against abortion?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you need abortion in some areas.
Like what?
Like medical, like.
But that's not the reason why Islam. That's not the reason. That's not the reason why Islam allows for abortion. It's because they give this theological understanding.
Why does he keep talking about Islam?
No, because I am comparing.
Why are you
the
comparing
other
when you're meant to promote Christianity?
Because
why are you comparing?
you're giving reasons.
Because you're not comparing with Buddhism
Okay.
or Hinduism. Why stop
Great.
comparing?
Okay,
Yeah.
so the reason why I did so was because of this fact.
All I'm saying is promote Christianity.
Christianity allows for abortions in the case of it being medically necessary. However, other religions permit abortions for other reasons.
So wait,
we are the
Christianity
only
does.
religion in the
Christianity
world.
does promote abortion, allow
In
abortion.
a medical necessary case, yes. Because it's considered a form of self-defense.
So what about in cases of rape?
And in cases of rape, if you look at statistically speaking, it's actually better for the mother to have to not have an abortion in the case of rape.
Okay, so
And in
you
fact,
would,
do you know?
you would force rape victims
I've got a question.
to keep their babies.
Question. Tick for tack. Do you believe that somehow?
No, answer the question.
I've just answered your question.
You would force rape victims to keep their babies.
Unfortunately, yes. Okay. Now, can I answer your question? Can I ask you a question? Do you believe the moral worth of a fetus is determined by the circumstance of its delivery or birth or conception?
No.
Okay, great. So what is the difference between the fetus of a rapist and the fetus of someone who is consented to sex?
isn't.
Okay, so why does your religion allow for the abortion of both innocent and rapist fetus?
Because it looks at society afterwards. So when the mother gives birth to the raped child,
Yeah.
she might throw it in a bin.
Okay, and that's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at morality, it's not looking through. You're very much looking through the practical aspect of moral law.
Yeah.
But we are God-fearing men who assume that laws given are in the most ideal sense. So, for example, it is equally wrong for a woman to have an abortion.
No, not
wait,
ideal.
hold on, interruption.
Not ideal. It
Okay.
cannot work in ideal
Okay,
sense.
so you think if it was
The same way humans, humans will never be
let's-
sinless.
Okay,
There's no ideal in this
would
world.
you call for a law if, for example, rape was enshrined within the culture of a tribe? Would you call for a law for legalizing rape because too many
That's
people? No, because you're saying that we should allow for abortion laws because society will still have abortions regardless of what we tell them. So, would you permit within the law if a society has a high case of rape, even if it was still was enshrined in the law that you can't? Would you still insist that the law should be that you can rape someone?
Your question is very hypothetical. There's no point answering that
No,
question.
it's not. Why can't it? Because I'm questioning the consistency in your logic. You're saying to me that
My consistency wouldn't apply to hypothetical scenarios.
Yes, it would. That is the very nature of a hypothetical.
So repeat it, go on.
Okay.
And
so
what did you get from this question
This
anyway?
guy's principle is that just because people won't follow what is the best possible solution, therefore we should move drastically down to their level and allow it. It's the same.
No.
It's the same argument that people. on the
Here's
left
what
give
you're
for
doing,
drug regulation.
arguing against God. This is what you're doing.
Abortion.
So what you're doing when you're arguing against God is,
Yeah.
God says, this is ideal, this is how you should act.
Is it?
However, this is the actual
Is
real
it?
life.
But you've just said to me.
Real life is not this.
You've
Real
just
life
said,
is this.
You've just said to me that it is not a sin to have abortion. It's not a sin to marry your cousin. Those
Abortion,
two things.
sorry?
Abortion. Yeah.
It's not a sin to you?
Yeah. In Islam.
No.
What's your school of thought?
There's the consensus again.
What's your school of thought?
Is that it's allowed for some.
No, it's not applied for some.
some
It's some
scenarios.
days.
Some
75 to 120.
Yeah, no.
What school of thought do you hold to?
No, those scenarios
What school of thought do
you
you
would
hold to?
only be able to do
What
in those
school-
days.
What school of thought do you hold
Do you
to?
understand what I said?
What school of thought do you hold to?
So for
I
these
can tell you
scenarios,
your
I
position.
heard you. For these scenarios, you would have to apply these dates. Anything after these dates,
What?
40 days is it? You're not allowed to have an
It's
abortion.
a 75 to 120.
You won't be allowed to
Okay.
have an
Do you know
abortion.
why? Do you know why abortion is permitted within Islam? Do you know
Because
the underlying
at that
rationale?
age, the fetus has developed his brain.
No, it's the
a
soul.
human. It's a human.
No,
the soul.
No.
It's a human.
So, there are two hadiths transmitted by Ibn Kathir that talk about the soul.
So do you see how Islam always is with the common sense?
No,
like,
no, it's
the
not.
The
No, it's
best
not.
scenario.
No, it's not. Because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you something.
You can't argue
I'm
against
gonna
God.
tell you.
You can't argue against God.
Of course I am. Because your God.
So let's go after this. Let's go into Sharia and why
Great.
Sharia is from God.
Great.
Let's
So-
go into that.
There are two hadiths narrated that talk about the underlying justification for why abortion is permitted within Islam. It talks about the when the soul is within the fetus, right? Now, the common philosophical understanding of the soul is the principle of material life, the ultimate thing that fuels the material body. Now, interesting. So, a soul is the principle of material life. If you don't have a soul, technically you're not living, right? So, if you're telling me that the soul is not yet in the fetus until the 70-day or 120-day mark, you're going to have to tell me that the fetus is not living, it's dead. Now, science would tell you that the fetus is in fact living. So, I said to you, the reason why Islam permits abortion is because of two hadiths. The soul. Now, the soul is the principle of material life. Every living thing has a soul.
Before the soul, it wasn't alive.
Yeah, that's what my point is. So prior to the 120 days and 70 days, the soul would have been clinically dead.
True.
So the fetus is dead in your eyes.
The fetus before the soul is basically just a body bag.
So you think that a
meat.
fetus? So what scientists would agree with you that a fetus is technically dead?
It's dead alive.
Well, what the hell does that mean?
Like a clone. It's just a clone.
There is no. Okay, firstly, unique DNA within the fetus.
It's just meat growing in a lab.
Okay, firstly, unique DNA. Secondly, living. Thirdly, there's nothing that biologically
it's just
changes
meat growing
between
in a
those
lab
days.
until the soul.
Okay, you understand that your skin cells are living, right?
Does it have a soul?
It's a part of me, so yes.
So where's the soul?
Yeah, it's a part of myself.
So where's the soul?
The soul is something that
Does the
is
skin have a soul?
immaterially inside myself.
The skin doesn't have a soul.
Yeah, but it's a part of me.
So just because you've got skin doesn't mean you're alive.
No, but by virtue of the fact that the skin cell is a part of the whole, which is myself.
Okay, as a Christian, are you disagreeing with a body is just a body without a soul?
Well, a fetus, if the body is dead, it has no soul. If the fetus is
at the
alive,
same time,
it
I
has
shouldn't
a
even
soul.
ask you these questions because you guys are just confused.
This is how clinically brain dead Islam is. You actually think that
we're not doing.
No, because you originally did that, and of course you've now just told me, and you've legitimized the mass butchering of innocent human people en masse. So you've just told me that a fetus, right, at its very conception, is dead.
Oh, mass butchering, abortion is mass butchering.
I agree with you.
Abortion is only allowed in certain scenarios.
No, okay, if you
Number one.
Okay,
Number two, in those certain scenarios,
you're still saying
the guidelines is those days.
You've still clinically told me this fetus is dead according to you.
So there is no mass butchering because it's only in certain scenarios.
What's the abortion rate here in the UK? It's 48%. That is nearly
secular.
It's also according to Islam, because Islam is not talking about abortion. You live in a society whilst you're allowing for these things to happen.
No,
48%.
we agree with Christianity.
The Muslim community.
We agree with Christianity.
No, you don't. You allow for it.
We agree with.
You allow for it. In fact, you go so far
finish?
in trying to prove that it's legitimate that you're going against science.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You guys are barbaric. For not allowing certain scenarios, it's barbaric.
Like
you don't understand that?
Because I value.
So you want
I value the fetus of a rapist.
A female girl like this old, who is being violated, to carry and give birth to a baby.
Of course, if it's viable to do so. Okay.
You don't see how that's barbaric?
You're confusing the quality of life to the right to life. Whether your right to life is contingent upon the quality of life.
What is this girl or woman supposed to do with the baby?
One second.
Okay. Is she supposed to love the baby?
What you're doing,
what
you're doing is confusing the quality of life to the right to life.
You know, that's where the word bastard came from.
Pardon?
Bastard were actually rape children.
I would rather be a bastard than be dead. Right? I hope we can all agree that I'd rather be a bastard and ridiculed within society than actually still be breathing.
But that's the bastards that stay alive. That's the bastards that grow up.
Hold on. One second.
So there's no
I'd rather live
guarantee that you would live as a bastard.
But just because there's no guarantee.
The same thing you were arguing about cousin marriage and deformed children is the same argument for bastard children.
Yeah, but I don't kill deformed children.
But bastard children get thrown in the bin.
Yeah, but abortion does the very same thing that we're both against.
Yes.
Killing people for the quality of their life.
Rather stop the child from being born before the soul comes.
Show restraint for 1 minute. You're confusing the quality of life to the right to life. Now, using the same logic, we could just get the firing squad out in some deprived country in Africa where they're starving and start shooting them because might as well, they're going to have this poor consistent quality of life, so might as well get rid of their right to life to begin with. Now, before you interrupt, you are saying that
you're also forgetting the woman
difference.
in this case. The woman,
of course, I'm accepting
the woman. It's mental torture, mental, physical, psychological torture for the woman.
You actually know there are studies that found that if you there's been studies in America that found that there's a 4%, 4x
That's
chance.
outliers.
Pardon?
Probably
No,
outliers.
there is a 4x chance of you committing suicide if you had an abortion in conjunction with a rape. Do you know why? Because most women who have this maternal sense of taking care of children, after the abortion, regret having it. Because although they know it is of the offspring of a rapist, they can still appreciate there's a unique human life that they could have mothered. And most women are instinctually mothers. Okay. So, in fact,
Islam says
you can butcher people.
You can't unalive your baby just because it's going to come out deformed,
That's not true. Show me a source.
Down syndrome.
Not true.
You can't kill your baby.
Not true.
But medical or extreme
I'm
cases,
telling you this now, it's not
it is
true.
allowed.
There was a medical study done at Humberley School of Thought, and it was talking about the medical application of abortion and its underlying justification for why they permit abortion within Islam. And the consistent theme within it is that the reason why abortion is permitted is not because of the circumstances by which a baby is conceived, but rather the philosophical understanding of when we start valuing what is a human. Now, if we present an argument that the reason why we allow for abortions is because we give no moral legitimacy to fetuses that do not exhibit a soul, then it shouldn't be circumstantial. It should just be we're allowed to abort the thing because we don't give it any moral value across the board.
Well, the moral value came from God.
Pardon?
Moral value comes from God.
Yeah, which according to you comes from the soul.
So you as a human cannot make up your own morality.
But I can
God
tell
gave
you
us
that
the
any
morality.
God that says I'm allowed for abortions en masse is a completely vilified, evil, fictitious God.
So it's not a mass, is it?
Pardon?
It's not a mass.
Yes, it is.
You want it to be. Again,
No, I don't.
You guys, you always reframe things just to add a deception in there. Anyway, going back to promoting Christianity,
Yeah.
you said it stops abortion.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm still waiting for your argument against Christianity, by the way.
I'm still waiting for you to say one more
Yeah,
thing.
so the reason why I believe Christianity is so it promotes monogamy, the concept of one husband, one wife. It's extremely beneficial. It promotes abortion.
Is that from Christianity?
Of course, yes. Christ says in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 7.
Chinese don't marry monogamously?
Okay, but the ones that were promoting it, especially in traditions where they had concepts of like polygamous marriages between more than one husband and more than one wife, was from 1 Corinthians 7, where it talks about the legitimacy.
All right,
and
I'll
roles
give
of marriage.
you the monogamy and
Because
abortion.
if you look at
what is the benefit of Christianity for society?
disciples young men and young women into appreciating one another, into appreciating the value of children. In terms of charity, the church is a voluntary social communion.
Okay, and that's it. Three points you got.
Well, those are one of the several points that I have. Now, I'm going to invite you to critique Christianity.
So
Well,
I'm going to invite myself to compare that with Sharia.
All right?
Okay. This is peanuts. It's like saying a Harry Potter community and their values.
If you start saying that,
absolutely-
I'll rip the crap out of your prophet if you start saying that.
Why do you mean rip
Because your prophet, and again, you say...
rip what? What did I rip and what are you going to rip?
I'll rip the fact that your prophet was en masse raped by a bunch of jinns, that he sexually assaulted a 9-year-old.
Before you get into rubbish,
Yeah.
what have I said that you want to
Yeah,
rip?
you go comparing my moral framework of Christianity to Harry Potter. You start doing that,
I said
I'll
to
say
you-
that your prophet was
I
raped
said
en
to
masse.
you-
I'll say to you that your prophet sexually assaulted a 9-year-old, widowed her at 18.
Where do you go from there then? Like,
Pardon?
why would you go into prophet was raped by whatever?
By a
you're
bunch of
talking
jinns, yeah.
about? So where are we supposed to go from there if you go into that?
But because, again, the slight mockery of my religion won't be tolerated.
So I am comparing. Forget Harry Potter. I'm comparing your religion.
Say Christianity, or I'll say not some nice things about your prophet.
Stop being so gun ho, bro. I'm not being rude to you.
I'm
Relax
not,
yourself.
not being funny, but if you say anything that defames the
Right,
holy
but I
faith
didn't
given to
say
us by God,
say Jesus is being raped by whatever. So why would you go there?
because it's not true.
So why would you go into gun ho nonsense? Like, relax
Because it's
yourself.
true.
Relax
The
yourself.
hadiths that talk about Muhammad being
I'm
raped.
comparing your religion to secular ideas like Harry Potter. If you don't like Harry Potter, let me just say secular.
Yeah, great. There
There's
you
no benefit of Christianity compared to secular ideas and philosophies.
Yeah.
If you say monogamy, abortion, and the last one was...
Wait, so secularism doesn't...
Hold on, what was our last one? 3 points you made.
not marrying a cousin, let's go with that.
No, you said monogamy, because that's not Christian value, you're not married.
Pardon? Yeah, it's taught in
There was-
Leviticus.
There was monogamy, there was abortion,
Yeah.
and the last one you said was...
Completely forgot. So let's say cousin marriage, not
So-
being against marrying a cousin.
So those 3 points
Yeah.
are not worthy enough to be a religion followed en masse by people, and it should not be promoted
Do you know what
over
you're doing?
any other
Do you know what
secular
you're doing? You're
ideas.
giving this very cardinal understanding that religions have to provide something to you in order for them to be
They
true.
should.
No,
Otherwise,
of course.
it's a
God,
hocus pocus.
God is unknowing. Whatever He decrees, whether we can prove it or not, is the ultimate will and wisdom of God. So I am not a cardinal sinner that says, "What does this religion give to me in order for it to be true?" I rather look at it in terms of why it is true, and then if so, submit myself.
Repeat that, because you just said something profound.
I said that I'm not a cardinal sinning man where I have to look at the table and say, what are the values of this religion? What does it give it to me?
Why would you follow
It's-
if there's no values?
Because there are things that are within it that prove it to be from God. Not that
There's no values. You just said there's no values.
But look, you can give your own personal interpretation onto why one system of morality is more impactful than another. However, I don't really care. I care about what God's telling me. If I can prove that something's from God, I'm concerned more with what God is saying to me than why He is saying it to me.
No, you're concerned more with why he's saying it to you and not
No,
what he's saying to you.
no, I'm concerned by the fact that God is telling me these things.
Yeah, so
imagine,
that's the why.
imagine it.
Not the
Okay, would you question if God said to you right now?
So the why is more important than the what.
Pardon?
So the why
what?
that
No,
God
the what
saying
is
to you-
more important than the why.
No, because you said it doesn't have to have values. That's the what.
No, that is the why. The why is why is God telling me this? What does this bring to me? Yeah.
You value that more than
I value more that
contents.
God has told me these things. That God has told me I must follow these things rather than
more than the contents of what he's telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you follow that? That's a cult.
Pardon?
That's a cult.
No, because I can prove that it's from God. You're confusing. It's
Prove Christianity is from God.
exactly great. I will. Okay. So if we look at the prophecies within Zechariah and Isaiah. So for example,
Jews disagree.
Pardon?
Jews disagree.
Okay, and then
So
bring
your-
me a
your
Jew.
proof is flopped.
Bring me a Jew.
So what, have you got any proof?
Pardon?
Do you have any other
Yes,
proof?
I'm going to exegete it stronger than a Jew. Like it's like me saying to you, a
So
Shia.
you're going to
Yeah.
debate the verses better than him,
Yes.
and that makes it true.
Yeah, of course. Like if you were to go to me, a Sunni, Shia, and Ahmadi all sit in a room, they're going to exegete passages in a different way.
Yeah.
Am I going to say, all right, I'm not going to hold to your school of thought because obviously a man disagrees with
Because
you?
Sunnis and Shias don't disagree about God.
Pardon?
They disagree about politics after
Yes, they
the
do.
Prophet.
Yes, they do. Of course
No, they don't.
Everything reflects on God. If, for example, there's some sects of Shiaism that says that Aisha,
Jews and Christians,
yeah,
this like
do you not think that
they disagree on the core, the most basic things
Shias and
of
Sunnis
God.
have a huge divide amongst themselves.
Not of God.
Yes, they do. They believe that
Not
they're
of God and the Prophet.
Yes, they do. I'll prove it
Now
to you.
you're appealing.
Okay,
You're appealing
so-
to something that's not there.
No, I am. You just denying that. It's just you cutting me off in order to say it.
Are you comparing Jews and Christians versus Shias and Sunnis?
Yes.
You should
Confidently.
just walk away.
You should walk away, my friend.
If you're going there, then there's no argument.
If
There's
you
no more
are,
debate.
okay, so the Shias believe that Muhammad was some sort of ignorant doofus that somehow married someone that was a kuffar and
Oh, that's
disbelieved in him.
extremists, not the majority of Shias.
Oh, okay, but a Shia still holds that position nonetheless, right?
Maybe you'll get one donut, but not the majority of Shias.
There are some legitimate schools of thought within
Majority of
Shiaism.
no, you're appealing to outliers again. You always
Pardon?
do that. You're appealing to outliers again.
I'm not
Majority
appealing
of
so much to outliers.
Shias, majority of Sunnis do not disagree
what
on
about-
God or Prophet.
What about the Imams
And
then?
if you
The
compare
successor of
Christianity,
Muhammad. Okay, let's go to
Yeah,
the
that's
major
not-
ones
that's
then.
not God and-
The
that's not God.
succession.
That's not
Well, it
God.
is because
That's
if
not God
God
and
is
the Prophet.
ordaining all these things and has full knowledge of all of these things happening, then of course that reflects on their God. Everything goes back to God, my friend. That is my point to you.
That does not work. That analogy doesn't work.
Yes, it is.
And
Does
also-
everything go back to
and
God?
also going back to
Does
you
everything go back to
also
God?
going back to you proving Christianity.
Yes, great. So the book of prophecies to Isaiah and Zechariah both talk about the messianic figure being sold for 30 pieces of silver, being God, and being persecuted by the East.
Prophecies.
Yes, great. Now, even within the pagan tradition, if you look at Plato's Republic, he says that if a perfect man were to ever exist, he should be humiliated and crucified. My argument for why the New Testament is true is because
That one is arguments against it. But go on, I'll let you.
what the translation of crucifying.
I'll let you have it. Continue.
Okay, great. So the prophecies within the Old Testament point to the New, and that is an argument for within itself why it is true.
Okay, so your proof for Christianity is debating verses.
Yes,
That's not proof, bro.
that is proof.
That's exegesis and arguments.
Okay,
and
if
debates.
there is something implicitly within the passage that proves its divinity, can I not use that?
No, because you always have people arguing against you.
How can? Oh, great! I can debate them all day, like I'm doing with yourself.
Yeah, and then you'd walk away with no proof.
No, I would walk away with the misguided
I would
people.
walk away no proof. You would walk away with proof.
No, okay. What do you think proof is within a
Proof
religion?
is objectively verifiable,
Okay, such as what?
such as the water is wet, the sun is hot.
No, in context of religion, because
In context of religion, it will be like, here's a miracle from God why this religion is true.
Okay, a miracle is prophecy, right?
A miracle will be undebatable.
Okay, prophecies
undebatable.
Are prophecies including revelation? Because miracles are something that are out of the
Not
ordinary.
from books before you.
How
in
can
other religions
guys
before you.
500 years before Christ ever existed prophesize Christ?
Yes, but then that would be the debatable thing. You'd have to have undebatable proof.
Pardon?
Do you
Yes,
have
of
any
course.
undebatable
That
proof
is
for Christianity?
undebatable proof. Why would a pagan philosopher, prophets from 500 years before Christ ever existed, all point to this conceptually perfect man being sold out, persecuted, humiliated, and crucified?
But that argument falls flat on his face the same way we say Muhammad is prophesied in the Bible and you say no.
Find me the prophecy.
Isaiah 42, you just said Isaiah. Isaiah 42 is
okay,
Muhammad.
Isaiah 42. You're going to talk about how it
From the
talks about
beginning
river.
of the Isaiah 42 to
Yeah.
near the end where it starts talking about Israel, 2/3 of the page,
Okay, so Isaiah
Muhammad's life story.
42. Do you understand it talks about all nations, right? It's not just exclusively
Before
Arabian.
before we go into Isaiah 42, my argument was
Yeah.
that you take the exegesis where it's being disagreed by the people that the book came to, the same way you disagree Muhammad's prophesied, they disagree Jesus prophesied.
Okay, and
so that's not proof.
And do you know what the
It's not
beautiful thing?
undebatable proof.
Do you know what the beautiful thing about debates?
Yeah.
One side will always come out stronger than the other. One will always be proven out by the other opinion.
No, it
Not
won't.
two things can't
No,
be true
it
at the
won't,
same time.
because you, for example, let's not even go into the Messiah being prophesied in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Even if we go into, for example, Muhammad being prophesied in Isaiah 42,
Yeah.
you will not be able to argue against it.
Of course, because Isaiah.
It's impossible to argue against Isaiah 42.
Isaiah 42 talks about preaching to all the nations. It's not just exclusively the Arab Peninsula.
Yeah. Muhammad came to all the nations.
So did Christ and all his disciples.
Christ came to the Jews.
Yeah, and all of the nations.
I have not come to except for the less.
Yeah, at the time of before the fulfillment of the law. But he also tells his
that's
disciples.
that's
to
your remix.
No, but
That's
he
your
also
remix.
he also tells his disciples to baptize people in all nations in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Wasn't that added on to the text?
Pardon?
Wasn't that verse added on and it's not
Of course not.
Septuagint?
It is in the Septuagint.
That's
The
the verse that's not in the
Septuagint is the
Septuagint.
Greek Old Testament translation.
Sorry, that's the one not in the manuscripts original.
Oh, it is in the Codex Vaticanus.
Okay, I'll give you it, but at the same time,
So you're arguing that Muhammad preached to all of the nations through agency, right? Because he wasn't physically there, right?
My argument is that if we go into Isaiah 42
Yeah.
and we go line by line by line by line by line until it starts talking about Israel, every line is about Muhammad.
No, it's not.
Every 2/3 of the page,
Absolutely
Muhammad's
not.
life story.
Absolutely not.
Now, that's where we disagree. And why would you use that as evidence?
Why would I
Because
use that as evidence?
We don't use that as
Okay.
evidence.
Do you believe two things at the same time can be true? And I think we're just going to have to round up this discussion because it's going to get nowhere.
No. I believe that God will give you objectively verifiable
What are the
evidence.
objectively
And-
verifiable things within the Quran?
Oh, you want to go there?
Go on.
We can go there. But the point of God giving you these evidences is that you can debate against the pagans who only have faith. Just believe. Believe. Jesus died for you.
Paganism
So that's
points
how
to
you
the
can argue
cross.
against. Sorry?
I believe paganism points to the cross.
Pagans don't have any evidence. That's why.
No, 'cause
God gives you evidence to argue against
you know
pagans.
That there are saints that have seen that have believed to seen. My friend, stop swearing. But anyways, my point would just be to you. I think
So
it's
that's
dead.
why the Quran,
My point.
every 10th verse ends with, for those who think. This is a sign for those who ponder. This is a sign for those who think. This is a sign for those who understand. This is a sign for those who are wise.
Yeah.
God is trying to get you to understand and have rational debates, logical debates with the pagans.
Of course,
Because
but
the pagans
you know,
have
you know
no
the
leg to
beautiful-
stand
you
on.
know the beautiful thing within Christianity, we have many saintly works that talk about
So
Aristotle.
can we-
1 second, because I think we're going to have to round up this discussion. 'cause at some
No,
point,
you said you want objectively verifiable evidence for
great,
Islam.
okay. So, the beautiful thing about Christianity is that we believe that paganism points to the cross, that there are pagan philosophers that have talked about Christ. Well, allegedly, the saints that I have to hold to in the church, some of them have seen in heaven Aristotle and Plato. That's a good example.
Allegedly, according to them, we can't prove it. It's not objectively verifiable, it's subjective, unverifiable. What objective verifiable evidences for Islam is too many. If you want to talk
Give me
about
one.
prophecies, Muhammad's prophecies are over 100 prophecies. Majority of them come true.
Could I give a scientific inaccuracy within the Quran?
There is no scientific inaccuracy within the Quran.
Quran chapter 55, verse 22.
Let me do the category before you pick one.
Yeah, go on.
So the categories are prophecies.
Yeah.
The category is Muhammad's one miracle that we can prove today. We weren't there when he was feeding people with a little small pot or whatever. But the one miracle that we can prove is the Quran. The Quran we can prove objectively, verifiably that it was not made by humans.
Can I show a scientific inaccuracy that would prove that?
No. The scientific congruences in the Quran is one of the things that makes it miraculous.
Okay.
But there's many things
Can we go to that
make it
one then?
miraculous.
Can we go to
So
that one?
you think you found one? I want to show you one where
No, because if there is like hundreds of these, we're going to be here all day.
no, there is no hundreds.
Okay.
And the hundreds you're thinking is scientific.
Can I give you one?
We don't even use the scientific.
I want to go to one.
Low tier people use the scientific. congruences.
Great, but I want to use an inaccuracy.
Okay, before you use the inaccuracy, let me show you one proof where it proves that the Quran was not written by humans. Can I do that?
Go on.
So there's a verse that says, produce a chapter like it. Have you heard that argument?
It's ambiguous in terms of what is like the Quran.
Okay, it's not ambiguous. They've actually researched it in depth. There's articles I can give you on this that breaks down the smallest chapter, which is 10 words, and the 10 words has 27 linguistic and literary features, which is impossible for humans to do.
What is like the Quran?
How would you argue 27 literary linguistic features in 10 words?
No, that doesn't give an argument towards what is the Quran.
No, I'm saying to you,
if
it's
I were to
impossible for
if I
humans
were
to
to
make
present, because you're looking at a feature of the Quran,
Yeah.
and you're saying that this is what the Quran is like in order to compare it to other texts that will be submitted into this so-called Quranic challenge. Now, if I were to submit a text, right? Let's
What
just
the hell
say
did you just say?
I said that you're looking at one particular feature of the Quran and saying that this is meant by the author as an example of one of the criterions for what is like the Quran.
No. I'm saying to you, this one specific feature of the Quran proves that humans did not make it.
That's not true.
That's exactly what I'm
No,
saying.
it's not. Okay, how would something out of the ordinary in terms of Arabic literature prove that it's from God?
Because
That's
you
just absurd.
didn't get the concept. The
I
concept
did.
is 10 words having 27 linguistic literary features.
Yeah.
Already impossible.
That is possible.
Yeah, try it. Try it.
Okay.
Go read the article and try
The
it.
fact is, if the Quran,
1,400 years they tried. It's impossible
if
to do
the
it.
Quran is a physical
let me
book in
continue. Let me
Arabic
continue before
and
you
it
jump
has
in.
these features, you can of course do the same thing with another piece of text.
Let me continue. So it's impossible, verified, to put 20...
How has it been verified?
Let me finish.
Has it been verified?
I'll give you the article, you can verify it. It's impossible to put 27 linguistic literary features in 10 words.
how does the Quran
Let me
exist?
finish. And then the 10 words is the smallest chapter in the... Let me finish.
How does the Quran
Let me finish.
exist?
Let me finish. The 10 words is the smallest chapter in the Quran.
Yeah.
The Quran has 77,797 words.
How does the Quran exist?
10 words is impossible to copy.
If it is impossible,
77,000 words is impossible.
If the Quran,
No AI can do it.
if the
No
Quran,
demons and
if
aliens
the
can help.
Quran exists physically as a book in Arabic, then how can you say these linguistic features are impossible?
So, if you get 10 words, I went to the shop and I woke up and I came back, 10 words, Try fitting 2 linguistic features in there.
No.
It will take you 2 days
not
just to
a-
come up with 2.
Not answering my
It
question.
will take you infinity to come up with 27.
Not the question I asked. Right?
Do you understand the concept now?
No, because
Why is impossible?
your question literally renders the Quran's existence as impossible.
Exactly.
No. You think that proves something? It really
Exactly.
doesn't. Because it loads off the assumption that your argument is true in proving its divinity. So if you're saying
one of the arguments,
hello,
and it's already
hello,
proven that it's
my
from God.
friend, we're gonna get nowhere. The corner's shutting, and I want to make this point very clear before we start wrapping up. If the Quran, in your eyes, whatever its testimony within itself to be true is its linguistic miracles. Okay, my apologies. How can the Quran exist if these linguistical features are impossible within a text? How does the Quran exist?
The way the verse that led researchers to this phenomenon, that it says, if you doubt this is from God, then produce a chapter like. No, it says, if you doubt this is from God, then call your helpers besides Allah and produce a chapter like it.
Again, not answering my question. How does this book
That
exist?
verse explains
If you say-
who made it,
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
and how to disprove it.
My friend,
It's a challenge.
if
It's
you
an
say,
open-ended
if
challenge.
you're,
So for 1,400
if,
years,
yep,
the Arab linguists,
Yeah.
the atheists, the Christians, the Jews, they all tried to take this challenge. Impossible.
Yeah.
I've tried with AI. Impossible.
great. So, you're not answered my question.
Yeah.
If these features are impossible within a book, how does the Quran exist?
Try it.
How
Go
does the
get AI
Quran? How?
and try and produce a chapter like
maybe I have to appeal to the audience here. How, if these linguistic features within this book impossibly exist, then how does the Quran physically exist within Arabic?
because you cannot make a puzzle where
So you're saying that this is impossible for this puzzle to exist?
No.
But the Quran as a puzzle exists.
No, you're misunderstanding now. It's called inimitability.
Yep.
Meaning, imitate inimitable.
Yes.
You cannot imitate.
Okay,
That's
but
what
you're saying these
inimitable means.
are these
So
linguistic?
it's there. The Mona Lisa is there.
Yeah.
The International Space Station is there. But you can copy the Mona Lisa. You can copy the International Space Station. but
Question:
You can't
Are
copy the
these
Quran.
linguistic features? Can
Do you
they
understand?
possibly exist in a book?
No, they're possible.
You're great.
Because they're there.
So if they are possible,
Theoretically, they're there. Practically, you will never copy
okay.
it.
So theoretically,
Yeah.
a human could produce a book like the Quran.
Theoretically, yes.
Great. So it defeats the purpose of the challenge. The purpose of
The purpose is physically,
no,
practically,
no,
you will never be able
The
to do it.
challenge is this: a
And
human.
not just you, even your helpers besides Allah.
One second.
So call your
One-
demons, call the Holy Spirit,
One second.
call everyone.
Yeah.
No one will be able to
Great.
copy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of calling the Holy Spirit, which is of course a divine third person of the Trinity, spirated by the Father, we had to call upon Muhammad, an illiterate man, in order to call forth this impossible book to
Where did it
exist.
come
That's
from,
great.
Muhammad did it come from God.
Well, in my eyes, that's how I believe it was compiled. However,
Well,
you're
we just
saying to me-
literally proved
Wait,
that it's from
no,
God.
you didn't.
We
No, you
literally
didn't.
proved
No,
that
you
it's
didn't.
God.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
If you don't believe this is from God, then call your helpers, which is why I said the Holy Spirit. Call the Holy Spirit.
One second.
Your helpers
One
besides
second.
Allah.
1 second.
You will never be able to.
One
copy it.
second.
Do you not understand
So
this?
he's just said that these linguistic features within a text is theoretically possible. Now, the argument for the Quran's divinity derives from the fact that the only way that this book could exist is through being compiled by a divine entity. Now, if you're saying there's a possibility that a book like the Quran could be compiled by a man, it defeats the very nature of the argument from exclusivity. That's the point. You're saying that if
that's a low tier.
here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. If the Quran's features are impossible, then the Quran can't exist. If the Quran's linguistic features can exist, then a book like the Quran can exist.
Why are you doing this
therefore it
cryptography
defeats.
on something that's obvious?
Pardon?
Why are you trying to muddle the waters on something that's obvious?
No, you're.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
Obviously, the challenge is produce a chapter like it.
Yeah.
You will never be able to produce a chapter like it because the impossibility is you can't fit 10 words. You can't fit 27 linguistic literal features in 10 words. Impossible.
Okay, so is it?
The Quran has it.
Okay.
You, AI, aliens,
Great.
demons, no one will be able to match it.
Okay.
That's the challenge from the Quran.
Okay, great. So
And that's one of the miracles
Yeah.
why we say it's from God.
Great.
And no humans can ever match it.
Great.
And it proves that humans did not make this book.
Great. So here's my dilemma. Here's the challenge for this.
And you can't muddy the waters on that. That's clear cut.
Let me see.
Objectively verifiable evidence.
So impossible.
Clear cut.
Impossible just means it can't exist, right?
Why are you doing modeling? What's the semantics of it?
Okay, great. I won't ask you questions. I'll just say it to the camera. Possible, can't exist. If something can't exist, can't be physically existing within my hand right now. Now, if the Quran possesses a linguistic miracle that is impossible, it means the Quran can't exist. In which case, we are looking at a book that has features that supposedly doesn't exist, but still exists in the first place, which means the challenge is false. If it is the case that these features can exist and it's possible for a human to produce these features, therefore it means that someone can create a book like the Quran, in which case the challenge falls flat on its face.
My findings from trying to beat this with AI was...
you think ChatGPT is the...
It done well. It got 15.
Right.
15 is a high number in 10 words.
However... Could you repeat to me what I just told you?
Yeah, I'm arguing the sex.
What did I tell you?
You said it's theoretically possible. So theoretically...
No, I said that...
My findings was... I was going to build on what you just said.
You agreed that it's possible, right?
I'm building on what you just said. So my findings from AI was... AI told me theoretically it's possible to get more than 27, but I can't do it. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's the way large language models work. Do you know how large language models are?
Even though theoretically you could, which is why God gave the challenge,
which
it's impossible.
Which defeats the exclusivity argument that the Quran challenge gives. The exclusivity argument that the Quran presents within itself is that the exclusive way that the Quran could be composed is through the impossible language features of the Quran itself. However, if there is a possibility for the contrary,
but you're stuck on the first.
If the possibility,
meaning you can go home. I give you the article. You can go home and verify what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Objectively.
And the lovely people at home
you
can
want
maybe
the
understand.
Article?
Great, and then we can end this discussion.
No, there's more. There's more objectively verifiable evidence from Islam.
Well, it just seems like, unfortunately...
For example, the historical ones.
All right.
The historical ones, have you heard of the Pharaoh weeping one?
Yeah, you're going to argue that the language used compared to the Bible is more historical, right? So like the Pharaoh being called the Pharaoh
No,
instead of
that's the Joseph thing.
Yeah. But look...
That one, you know...
It's a language device.
I'm not even going to go into that. I'm talking about the Pharaoh weeping.
Right.
You heard of the Pharaoh weeping?
Yeah, I'm aware of the argument there.
What's that one?
I haven't really looked into it. You can present it.
So basically, God says, at the time of Pharaoh's death, he says, the earth neither weep for him, or the stars neither. The earth and the stars, none of them weep for him. Mm-hmm. And the scholars were looking at that verse thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Until the Rosetta Stone findings of the archaeological plinths. So they went to the sites of the burial grounds for the pharaohs. They found a massive plinth that says, the sky weeps for you, the ground shakes for you upon your death, O Pharaoh.
That just seems like a massive case.
Why would the Quran knows dead languages explanations?
That just seems like a massive confirmation bias.
It was a dead language.
No, this just seems like a massive case of
unknown knowledge.
No, this just seems like a massive case of confirmation bias.
You don't understand. You always have a problem with the conception. Like,
yeah, like you understand that. Like if things that are commonly said about
you speak like a high tier intellectual person, but
I would never say I'm smart.
You don't follow.
I was greatly privileged to be learned from other people.
What did you struggle to understand from what you said?
What I struggled is, it seems like, and again, this is the first time I've ever heard of this argument,
bias.
that it's just a massive case of confirmation bias. That you're correlating two things that ultimately aren't proven to be linked with one another.
Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Plinth. Pharaoh's burial ground.
Yeah, and that's what Islam majorly does. It tries to argue for itself historical arguments that were just never there.
Is anyone struggling with understanding? Brother,
but if you want to appeal to the audience, I can do the same.
You're not following me, so I'm struggling to understand. How can you find this?
Honestly, we've been discussing for the most. We've been discussing for the most.
The Quran says.
We've been discussing for the most past of the
The Quran says randomly, Pharaoh, upon your death,
because
the sky did not weep for you, the ground did not shake for you.
It's a common language of the Quran.
We find at the burial grounds of the pharaohs in a dead language that we can only translate today, that Muhammad's time was dead, unknown.
Right.
That the plinth for the burial grounds of the pharaohs says, the sky shakes for you or weeps for you and the ground shakes for you upon your death, O Pharaoh. How the hell did the Quran know this information in
Because
a dead
it's
language
common-
in a different time zone?
It's the common language of the Quran to humanize objects such as the earth, stars, and planets.
The sky did not weep for you, the ground did not shake for you, Pharaoh.
That's the common language of the Quran.
This is the prayer people
This is
used
the
to
common
pray when a pharaoh dies.
This is the common language of the Quran.
We had
It
no
seems
information
like a
of this.
Okay, it seems like a massive case, and I'd need to look into this firstly. But this is
Yeah,
sort
but
of my
why is, if you
instant
don't know
response.
something, why are you always rejecting it?
Because I'm always
Always,
hypercritical of most things that are said about Islam. In all honesty,
But we're the only things, except for science, that has proof. Objectively verifiable proof.
Opinions.
I am proving
Great.
objectively verifiable. You can go home and verify
not objectively verifiable.
scientific facts.
What happens
When,
when you die?
when something is objectively verifiable in science, that's called a fact.
What happens when you die?
My friend, I think largely. So look, I'll say this much. I feel like instinctually this just seems like an act of confirmation bias.
Do you think objectively verifiable things are opinions?
I think that.
No, I think you
Great.
don't know what happens when you die.
Look, my friend,
I think he
I
doesn't
will
know
say
what
this much.
happens.
I don't know a refutation to this argument. However, I would say, hearing from what you've just said, without
That's
knowing about it,
two objectively verifiable things.
no, it's not. The first thing we had,
Scientific
the
facts.
first thing I gave to you was a dilemma that you couldn't resolve. The second thing was an argument that you
dilemma are you
gave, the dilemma
I only
of.
remember giving you the objectively verifiable evidence.
No, so you gave the argument from the Quran within itself being an evidence for its divinity, and you said produce a book like the Quran. I said to you that
chapter,
if it
10 words,
possesses,
just a
yeah,
chapter.
I said to you there's a dilemma here. If the Quran possesses impossible language features, then the Quran can't possibly exist. If the Quran possibly exists,
you're talking
then
because you
hypothetically,
don't understand. I swear to God,
I'm
you
not.
don't understand.
I'm not.
I'll give you the article.
Great.
I'll give you the article.
Oh, come on, don't read an article. Keep talking.
And for homework.
Homework, of course.
No, you're continue making any points.
Yeah, the dilemma for the argument is just simply that either the Quran impossibly possesses a language feature in which the Quran cannot exist, or the Quran does exist and possesses features that can exist, in which case a human can create a book like the Quran.
Sapiens Institute, yeah? Mm-hmm. This is where the article is.
What's Sapiens Institute?
Think tank, Muslim think tank.
A Muslim think tank.
Whatever, yeah. Produce
Right.
one chapter like it is the article inside.
Great, I'll look into it.
Not a think tank, sorry, like...
But I feel like, firstly, I might have to go at some moment, so I think that should largely finish our discussion.
So, Sapiens Institute,
Yeah, I've heard of it before.
produce one chapter like it.
Great.
They have the whole thing and why it's impossible for humans to copy this book.
Fantastic.
And that's one of the objective verifiable evidences,
Yeah,
by the way, BTW.
great.
So instead of saying we are Christian and our evidence is Bible
Prophecies.
verses that are debatable, it's better to have objectively verifiable evidence so you can actually have a conversation with the pagans.
Don't think you know what objective means, but however, pleasure speaking to you. What's your name, my
This
friend?
is why I gave to you articles you can verify. That's
Okay.
why it's objective.
What's your name, my friend?
You understand why it's objective?
No, because I would contend that would mean it's objectively true. I think that we mostly use these words in like debate spheres. Like,
If I say to you the sky is blue, is that objective or is that subjective?
That's objective.
It's objective.
it's objectively true because we
If
can.
I say
we
to you
can
the sun
view
is
it.
hot,
However, with the
is
Quran,
the sun not hot?
with
is there a case where the sun is not hot?
with the Quran challenge, especially, you lead into this huge dilemma. Now, unfortunately, there are possibilities for a book like the Quran to be composed. However, this has been a very long and fruitful discussion.
Impossible.
It is not.
When you look at the
Does
research,
the Quran exist?
you will realize why it's impossible.
Does the Quran exist?
It's the only thing in existence that is inimitable.
Okay. Does the Quran exist?
You're not understanding.
Yes.
Okay, great. Does the Quran possess these language
Inimitable
features?
means
Yes.
it exists, but it cannot be imitated.
Okay, great. So the claim is
So
that it
if
can't
no
be
one,
imitated.
If no one can copy the Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
then the Mona Lisa is a miracle.
But if
Great.
Yes.
So you're saying that
Just
the
because
reason
the Mona Lisa exists and no one can copy
okay,
it.
the reason why let's use the example of the Mona Lisa. So let's say an argument for the Mona Lisa being something that you cannot imitate is because of its exclusive features. Now, you're not arguing it for its exclusivity, but rather from its impossibility. Now, if you argue from its impossibility, it means it can't exist. If you say to me that the feature of the Mona Lisa is an impossible brushstroke, then that brushstroke can't exist. If there is an impossible language feature of the Quran,
brushstroke can exist.
okay,
It's a miracle.
if it can exist,
Do you think God can't do miracles?
okay, if it can exist, then there is a possibility for a human to create something like the Quran. Correct?
No, because no one can
Okay,
match
then-
the miracle.
Then the Quran can't exist.
Exactly. It shouldn't exist.
Okay, so the Quran does not exist.
That's why it's proof. Because it shouldn't exist is why it's proof that humans did not make it.
No, you're not understanding.
Do you follow the conclusion?
You're using the word.
Impossible exists.
You're
here.
using the word possibility a bit loosely.
Impossible. The impossibility exists in the physical world. That's why it's proof that humans did not make it.
You're using the word possible a bit loosely here.
If Mona Lisa had a brushstroke that was impossible, then it would not be human.
No, it just wouldn't exist. What do you think impossible means? Something that can't exist?
This guy is just arguing, but I'll leave it there.
Appreciate it, my
nice.
friend.
It was nice to chat to you. Man.
Good sport, brother. God bless you.
Well, that was a.
What happened there, young
Yeah.
Bob?
But so,
What happened there, young Bob?
you know, off the kind of cusp of me discussing the dilemma of can you produce a book like the Quran, I kind of made this dilemma of if there is an impossible feature within the Quran, the Quran cannot exist, but does exist, which means the language features within the Quran can possibly exist, in which case someone can create a book like the Quran. The other argument from the Weeping Pharaoh I've not really come across, and I'll be honest, I'll look into it, and you know, at some point when I'm free, give a response to it.
Okay.
The other one on incest and abortion.
Yeah.
These are two things that I think we can just observe from the consequences, what Christ says is the fruit, and we can determine its moral value. So in the case of incest, you have a high cause of deformities, therefore it's wrong. In the case of abortion, you're ending an innocent human life. I think there's a huge issue when it surrounds the communication of the discussion at hand. I think it's unfortunate that a lot of the times it kind of led astray in terms of insulting one another. However, I think it was something that we could both get behind, and it was quite fruitful.
Well done, young Bob. Any message to the family? How they can find you? What you're doing at the moment? How they can reach you, support you?
I'm largely planning to make Turning Point UK an organisation that has different chapters across the United Kingdom. I think that it's very healthy to promote the free market of ideas, and we'll very much keep it on side with the Christian faith.
Well done, Bob. Well done, young Bob. Well done.